Scaling a premium food brand sounds great until you actually try and do it, because growth usually means pressure, more volume, more demand, more risk of losing what made the product special in the first place. So we're here today to talk about how you can scale without compromising quality. So I'm joined by Amanda from Granny Gothards. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
No, pleasure. And we are going to talk all about Granny Gothards, how it started, the amazing products that you've got. But I'm going to hand it over to you to go right back to the beginning of where did it start?
Oh, thanks, Kate. It was very strange how these things happen. So I was working as an accountant at a firm of willow growers that were on the Somerset levels. And I'd gone there 12 years prior to help them out for 6 months and stayed 12 years. Having a lovely time. I was doing their accounts for them, but also got involved in sales. They were a company that made charcoal. So, it was family business that was growing and growing and growing. And the key thing was I met a really wonderful woman there called Jean Allen, who is my best friend. And we'd been, like I say, we'd been there sort of 12 years. She was doing marketing and I was doing the accounts. And we just used to sit and think we should do something for ourselves, really. And we thought about doing a tea room and we thought about having a little shop, a deli shop or something, because we're both sort of into food and our children were about sort of late teenagers and everything. So it was a good time to start looking at doing something different. And we had a little tea room at the place where we worked, and the lady who used to make our cakes came in one day and said, "Oh, the farm down the road, that was the Gothard farm, which is where the name comes from, they'd set up an ice cream company, a sort of company. They'd converted an old milking shed, but they weren't going to do anything with it." And at that moment, it was one of those things, and Jean looked at me and I looked at her and I said, "Should we go and find out about it?" So we knew they were selling equipment that they'd bought on eBay. So we knew, we had to be quick about doing it. So we made an appointment with the farmer and we went over to see him and literally we negotiated to buy the name and to move into this ice cream parlour. And the plan was we would still keep our full-time jobs. Oh, wow. We thought we'd keep our full-time jobs, play golf maybe one day a week. Honestly, I can't believe what we thought we could do. And then make ice cream a couple of days and sell it at festivals. So the reason that we did this was so we could legitimately take time away from our husbands in a caravan, but say we were working, because we used to have so much fun together. So sort of roll that on a couple of weeks and we went to the bank. We negotiated a milk contract with the farm. We negotiated to buy the name Granny Gothards. We negotiated the rent and everything on the premises. And we went along to the bank and we'd done all our sort of projections and everything, and we sat with the bank, and it was sort of 2012. So the banks were a little bit more flexible about lending money at that time. And the guy said to us, "Yeah, really good, great presentation. We will lend you half of what you want." So we went, "All right, okay." So we came out, and I remember it was in Taunton, and we came out of HSBC in Taunton. We go, we've done it. And then we thought, we've got to find the other half. Yeah. So both of us have got to find £7,500. So Jean spoke to her mum and her mum said, "Yeah, I'll lend you the money." I didn't want to borrow it from my husband, who's now my ex-husband, but I didn't want to borrow it from him because I wanted this to be my thing. Yeah. And just because of the type of person he was, it wouldn't have been my thing. So I went home thinking how I could do it. And I swear 2 days later, a summer bond that I'd forgotten about, I'd invested £5,000, turned up on my doorstep for £7,500. I know. And I sort of looked up to the sky to my dad who's in the spirit world, and I said, "Dad, you need me to do this, don't you?" And it really was that. And we went back to the bank and said, "Right, we've got the money we need." And we bought the business, and they said we'd got 5 customers. When we rang those customers up, we hadn't got 5 customers because they decided they didn't want to do it anymore. They'd just stopped ringing people back, and people ringing up to place orders and they weren't answering the calls. But we just thought, well, we're starting from nothing. We've got no experience. We don't know what we're doing, but we've got to do this and get on with it. And this was in the November, great time to buy an ice cream company in England. And our first event was at Taunton Christmas Market, and we sold 4 ice creams. Oh. We had this beautiful big cart, and it was beautifully branded, and we had to, straight away had to learn to pull a trailer and, all the rest of it. We said we had hands like gypsies by the end of it, because we were like just moving heavy stuff around all the time, but we were having a great time. And then roll that on through the next sort of few months, and we started doing events in, April, May, more of May bank holidays and summer events and things like that. And it just was not what we wanted to do. It really wasn't. It was hard work. You were so weather dependent, and en masse we found there was quite a bit of negativity in the market when you could buy a whippy for sort of £2.50, and then we were saying buy a proper ice cream for like £3. There was a lot of negativity in the market due to the amount of competition, but we knew we'd got a good product, because there's nothing like the public to come back and say, it was actually rum and raisin. I remember a gentleman come in and say, wow, that packs a punch, doesn't it? And I'm going, well, we soak our raisins for 3 weeks in rum, and then we hand stir them, and his wife's pulling him away to go shopping somewhere else, But the public told us we got a great product. So I remember coming back with Jean one day from a wedding, 3:00 in the morning, and I just said to her, we need to sell this to other people. We need to start looking at a different market. And we started selling to chefs. And, we didn't have any marketing department. We had no marketing budget, no salesman. So we'd make ice cream. By this time, we'd sort of gone part-time on our other jobs. Okay. We'd make ice cream in the morning. We had one lady working with us, Donna, who was amazing. And then we'd deliver in the afternoon, and then I'd do the accounts in the evening, and Gina would do the social media stuff, during the evening. And it's just how small brands have to grow. You have to do everything. But there's nothing like chefs telling you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So it was definitely finding that chefs were our market, and that was the key to the growth of the business, really. And also understanding, Kate, that not everybody's going to buy our ice cream. So if I drove past a pub and it said 2 meals for £15, I'd go in and say, oh, can I talk to you about Granny Gothards? And the chef, how much is it? I'm never going to sell my ice cream there. No. And I think that's one thing that as a brand owner, you need to value where your brand is, understand where it's positioned, and then you decide you either maintain that position, or to get a bigger market share and volume, you have to shift. Yeah.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think the more a business evolves, the more you understand your consumers and your customers, the more, exactly like you say, you realise, is that the right consumer for me, or is this the wrong consumer, to align with the product that we've got? And I think the more your business goes through that and you learn that, that's really powerful.
Absolutely. You cannot put a value on that. I remember people, one guy down in Lyme Regis threw my business card back at me when I told him how much it was. He'd got an ice cream kiosk on the beach, and I totally understand it. As an accountant, I know somebody's going to buy an ice cream off him for £3.50, whether he's paying a Granny Gothards price or whether he's paying, a bid food price. Yeah. They're going to buy it. It's the same product. They just want an ice cream on the beach. And it was realising that our customers were chefs that would make ice cream themselves.
Yes.
And what we were doing was saying, we will be your secret ingredient in the freezer. And those restaurants, those hotel chains, those distributors, that realised the importance of offering something different. Yeah. And also, I made the decision. Jean had left the business. Jean left the business after 2 years because it was growing too fast. And it was, like she said, it was above her pay grade. We are still the best friends. She's been down all weekend celebrating my birthday with me. But once I had full reign, it was so much easier, because I knew that I lived and died by my decisions. Yeah. I'm a risk taker as well.
Me too.
Jean wasn't. So I used to have shower conversations trying to work out how I could convince Jean that this was a good idea to do, And I think now when we started exporting, Jean never would have, and she says herself, the business would not be where it was if she'd have stayed with it. Yeah. Because you have to take risks sometimes, and it's like those big decisions that I've made mean the business is where it is now.
Yeah. And just it's an interesting one, being a risk taker, because I think when you are a business owner, sometimes you go into that, is this the right decision? Is that not the right decision? But I think what's really important is being able to be really agile with that. So if you make a decision and it doesn't work, you can be really fast and really agile and move back the other way, or move and flip. So whether that's a different product, a different flavor, a different consumer type, or you're testing, I think it's really important that you can move really quickly.
Yeah, and you've got to. I think a lot brand owners can be, especially when they've developed everything themselves, can be almost too protective of it.
Yeah.
And it's very much like, take what people tell you. I remember the first time somebody saying to me, they tasted a strawberry ice cream and they said, "What flavour's this?" Well, I know he was just making a point, because our strawberry ice cream, went on to win the best food product in Devon. So it's like, but then other people go, "Amanda, there's not enough salt in it," or "there's too much salt in it." Yeah. And I take my sort of product development and leadership from those people, because I've got some of the best, sort of product developed people that I could possibly have. So if you've got a Michelin chef telling you it needs more salt or less salt, you listen to these guys. My background's not in food. My background is, in accountancy and being a mum and being quite creative with cooking. But I listen to those people, and I think you have to. But also, like you're saying about being agile, I remember, one of the supermarkets came to us, and it was a time when I was still thinking maybe we could go into retail, and they'd had the product, they absolutely loved it. They said, everybody in the meeting has said this is the best ice cream they've ever tasted. Can you send us all the pricing? We've got a follow-up meeting, 11 o'clock tomorrow. I remember working through the night to get all the the Excel spreadsheets done and all the pricing supplied. He called me up 3 o'clock in the afternoon and said, "Great, thank you, Amanda, it was brilliant, we had a great meeting, but you're £1 too expensive." So I said, "All right, £1 per case?" And she went, "No, £1 per pot." And I just went, "Okay, I can't do anything about that."
No.
And it was the best decision I made, Kate, because now when I look at brands that are literally everywhere, one of our USPs when we go into a restaurant in London or a hotel group is, you can't buy us in Tesco's.
Yeah.
You can't buy us in Sainsbury's. We were in Waitrose for a long time. We are talking to Waitrose again. But again, that's fine, And all of our retail stuff now is done overseas.
Yeah.
So apart from local farm shops and things like that, because a chef doesn't want to have an ice cream on his menu that he's charging £8 or £9 for.
No.
And somebody can go and buy it in Tesco's for £5.
And that goes so nicely into, so as a brand and your values that you sort of live and breathe, if you like, is obviously quality is a massive one in terms of what you're making. But just talk to me about what that looks like, because we see a lot in food and drink. Those values are so important, is living by that, whether it's sustainability, whether it's quality, whether it's premium, provenance, all of those things. Just talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's important, isn't it, to think about, as brands grow, how do you keep that at the core?
Yeah, it is, again, and it's that decision you make. Either you go down the sort of the less expensive route and you end up competing with people on price, or you and also marketing budgets, because I've always said I'll never have a marketing budget the size of Unilever, so why try and take on a Ben and Jerry's on quality, because I'll never ever win on marketing. So we decided to stay at that premium end of the market. So we literally, get milk delivered from the first morning milking from the cows at Oak Park Dairy.
Oh, I love that.
And then we just use, milk. So milk from them. We use Devon cream. We use free range egg yolk. There's not many sort of ice cream manufacturers that use egg anymore, if you look on the ingredients list. And the reason is we make a custard. We make exactly what a chef would do. And what we've done is we've upscaled an artisan product. So when we first started making ice cream, we had what's known as a Bravo machine, which is an Italian ice cream machine. Yeah. And we made ice cream in 10 litres.
Oh, wow.
And it was a 20-minute cycle to do 10 litres of ice cream. When we moved to our new site, we just bought more of those machines in a bigger size.
Okay.
So it goes against everything that I know as a management accountant, because we should go into batch production and we should be having, a sort of 1,000 litres of a base mix, and then we pull it off and put flavour in. But you don't get the product that we make then. And the other thing is, if we've got rum and raisin, like for this one, for example, we get the best rum. Yeah. And we get the best raisins, and we do things like we soak the raisins before we hand stir them into the product. And it's all those little things, Kate, that make the difference. It takes more time. The ingredients are more expensive, but then I'm not competing with a lot of the ice creams that are out there. And quality does suffice in a lot of markets. There are always people who want to know about price. And you can't go in and say, well, that's £10 a tub, because people won't pay for it. So there is a balance between the two things. But we made that decision not to compete on pence per pot, but to always be the best quality ice cream that we could possibly make.
Yeah. And just talk to me about, so this is rum and raisin, really good example.
Yeah.
Do you always sort of partner with Southwest brands when you make your ice cream? Is it really important that they are based down here in that partnership piece? Just talk to me about that a little bit.
So whenever we can, so when it comes to sourcing ingredients, obviously, we all love to buy local and we love to support farmers and all the rest of it. So when possible, we always buy our ingredients from the Southwest. That's the ingredients to make the ice cream, and then when it comes to the flavourings and partnerships, again, if we can partner with local companies, then it's great. It makes a wonderful story. And, as we were talking about earlier, people like to know about the brands. And, this one with Two Drifters, for example, we thought we make an awful lot of rum and raisin ice cream. Let's look at where we can buy our rum from. And we could go to Good Food Wines and we can buy, 200 litres of unbranded rum. There's no story behind it. No. So, when we spoke to Gemma about it and the guys from Two Drifters, which obviously, again, a really well-known Southwest company, they were delighted. Same with Salcombe Gin, as you had earlier. We made, for the Food Drink Devon Awards, we made a fantastic gin and tonic sorbet. And Howard came in and we looked at the botanicals that went into that gin and we infused the sorbet with those botanicals as well as putting the gin into it. So those things we absolutely adore. But then we come to strawberries. We used to buy our strawberries from Cheddar when we were small. We can't now. We have to guarantee the same quality of strawberries right the way through the year, because we're producing strawberry ice cream constantly and we're sending it, to Dubai in our winter time. We're selling it in the UK in the summertime. So we have to then find somewhere where we can source the strawberries from continually. But even then, we try and work with local importers. So our strawberries don't come from China. None of our fruits come from China. They only come from Europe. If we can't get them in the UK, we buy them in Europe. Obviously, things like mango, we buy the best mango. It has to come from India, because that's where the best mango comes from. So there are some things we can't do anything about. And I think as we develop more and more flavours and we've become more and more exotic with the stuff we do have to spread slightly further afield. Which
is then when you go into how do you keep that quality as you grow and as you scale. And that goes back to your decisions, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And, you make a decision. People say to me sometimes, oh, your ice cream's so expensive. And I said, but it's not because we're making massive margins. It's because of what goes into it. And when we sit in front of a group of chefs, for example, they taste it and they go,
that's good.
And it's very, very rare that we don't come out with that contract. Susie went to see a local pub on last Monday, and she got the order before she'd sort of got back to the office because they taste it and they say, and we sort of say, if we can get in front of a group of chefs and we can put that product in front of them, then we usually win. And I mean that, going back to, all the issues that every business had during COVID, we were literally down to our last £800 in the bank. And everybody had closed. All our customers had closed. We weren't doing retail. So, we'd got nowhere to go with it. We'd sold all the stock because I've been driving around in little Frosty, our van, selling it on Facebook and all the rest of it. And we had £800 in the bank. And then we got a phone call from a contact that we'd had in Dubai, because we'd been exporting there since 2018, I think it was. Right. So they came and they said, can you send some samples of ice cream to Dubai? There was a big online retailer that was looking for a new ice cream supplier, because their business had gone massively through the roof because of COVID and they couldn't get a decent ice cream supply. So I remember looking at my bank and I'm thinking, right, okay, I've got 800 quid. It's not going to pay the electricity for a month. It's not going to pay my insurance for a month. You spend it on getting these samples to Dubai. And I literally loaded up a box with as many different flavours. I think I sent about 70 flavours of ice cream, loads of dry ice. I got a special dispensation from the police to be on the roads because I had to drive it to Heathrow. 2 days later, because they tasted it, we got an order for £180,000 worth of ice cream.
Oh, it's made my skin like get goosebumps.
I know. And it was like, I was lying in bed and this call came at 6 o'clock in the morning and it's like, are you sitting down? And I went, I'm in bed, I'm lying down. And he said, oh, we've just spoken to, it was a company called Kibson's. We've just spoken to Kibson's and they love the ice cream. The tasting was brilliantly. It's not going to be a 20-foot container though, Amanda. And I said, okay, thinking maybe a couple of pallets, I'd go in and make it myself. And he said, it's not a 20-foot container, it's a 40-foot container. And I sort of sat up in bed. He said, and actually it's 2 40-foot containers. I was like, oh my God. So we did 2 40-foot containers of 500ml pots of ice cream and it saved the business. It's not even like, oh, maybe it helped. It saved our business. Yeah. But it was because they tasted it.
Yeah.
If I'd have said, oh, well, here's a brochure about us or whatever. Yeah, we had to get that ice cream over there. And it happens, with Harrods, we've got the contract with Harrods because of that, with Emirates because of that. And that, I never want to sit in front of somebody and they go, Granny Gothards used to be better than this. And also that isn't down to me, Kate. That's down to the ladies and the guys in the parlour who make the ice cream every day. And I'm totally confident when I sit in front of a chef or a group of buyers that product is going to be as good as it should be.
Yeah. So just talk to me about flavours because anybody that follows you on socials and if you don't, please go and follow them on Instagram. You're on LinkedIn as well, aren't you?
Yes, yeah.
But we see the parlour on there quite a lot, don't we? And we see different flavours or different tests going on sometimes in there. And I'm thinking I must come and visit you up there because it looks so fun. But talk to me about flavours because where do those flavours come from? Is it you go and do a tasting and someone goes, you should maybe try this and make this flavour? Or is it an idea that you get? Where does that spark from?
It's a mixture of all of those, Kate, to be honest. I mean, because chefs are our biggest customer, we get a lot of feedback from them where they'll, a lot of the companies that we work with, we get involved in menu development with them. So they will say, we're making a dessert, say a pineapple upside down cake on our summer menu. What can we have with it? And then we'll go, well, maybe we'll try this, maybe we'll try that. So it's a two-way conversation. We usually go up to the place at Western, the Southwest Food Hub, and we have conversations up there with them. Another way which people, like my production manager hates me for, is I spend too much time in the car and I listen to food programs.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, and I just go, oh, that sounds interesting. So the product that we won the best ice cream in the Southwest for was our salted honey. And that came about because I was coming up the M5. They were talking about bees. They were talking about how much honey we should have in our diet. It's good for hay fever. It's good for general health, how long it's been around. And I'm thinking, we do a salted caramel. Everybody does a salted caramel. We do a salted licorice, which is insanely good. A lot of French chefs use that. And I thought, why don't we try a salted honey? So I come into the production park, Donna, can we do a salted honey ice cream? And she go, yeah, of course we can. So then we look at what we've got and we work out what the recipe might be. And that went on to be one of our best-selling products in Waitrose. So that came from a thought. And the other one, the new one which I've got, which you've got to try, this way you need to come up, is a Simply Salted. Ooh. And I was listening to Jock, who works for Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
And it was on the Jay Rayner food programme. And they were talking about sweet and savoury and spices. And he was saying about what amazing spice salt is, even though we don't think of it as a spice, and how well it works with sweet things. So I just came and said, can we do a Simply Salted ice cream? And Donna, again, what do you want? So just a plain ice cream with no flavour whatsoever. So we call that a milk ice cream, but add sea salt into it. And we use Cornish sea salt. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning in its simplicity, and again, it works well. Like if you have that as dessert with a beautiful homemade shortbread biscuit and some lavender, oh my God, it's just beautiful. So we get a mixture of sort of ideas. And then we do projects like for Anya Highmarsh, which we've been doing for the last 5 years now. That's going live again on June the 3rd this year. So I can't tell you what the flavours are coming because obviously the press are waiting for those. But, previous years we've done Branston pickle ice cream, we've done Piccalilli ice cream, we've done, Kikkoman's. I mean, in the Kikkoman's one, beautiful. We now sell that in Japanese restaurants.
I think last time I saw you as well, you were doing, it would have been this time last year.
Yes, yeah.
And you were doing the same process. And I think you said you'd eaten, it was it a sweet or something you were testing, a toffee or something?
Oh, we'd done a, what did we do last year?
Or was it bourbon biscuit?
We were doing all the biscuits ones and everything. Yeah.
I'm just so full.
Yeah, we did. I think last year they did hobnobs, penguin, club biscuit, club orange.
Biscuit.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, a club biscuit, a club orange biscuit, sort of chopped up and put through a chocolate orange ice cream. What's not to love?
What is there not to
But
love?
saying about the prices, I mean, she sells the pop-up shop that she has in London, 4-hour queues, and they sell these pots for £15.
That size.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But people go and buy the whole set of the pods. So there's, I think we're doing 15 flavours this year, and they'll buy 15 flavours because the tubs are iconic as well. And I mean, that's how we got into Waitrose because, as marketing, we don't own, we actually buy with our eyes, not with our taste.
Yeah.
So in a supermarket, I had to work out, how do I get you to look at a product in a supermarket and choose me instead of Ben & Jerry's? When I'm twice the price, Ben & Jerry's, I'm doing something different. It's like, who's Granny Gothards? Never heard of them, blah, blah, blah. So again, over COVID, we came up with the beautiful wooden pots that we developed that Waitrose saw. We presented them to Waitrose and Waitrose said, these are stunning.
Yeah.
And we put the ice cream in a wooden pot, and therefore it was in the freezer. It looked like a camembert or something. Yeah. People were thinking, why is there a camembert in the freezer? Take it out, have a look. Oh, handmade ice cream, made in Devon, totally natural, 5 ingredients in a vanilla ice cream, and they've put it into their trolley. And once we've got them, we've got them hooked.
Yeah, and that takes me to my next part, and it's about your customers. And as consumers, do you find that once you get a customer, or you get a chef, or you're in a retail like a Waitrose, do they just keep you and stay with you because they've tasted it, they love what you do, they love the MPD that you do, because you do quite a lot of MPD, don't you?
Yeah. I think people, once they've tried it, they don't want to go back to other ice creams. Yeah. I mean, a classic example, we were in Waitrose for 2 years and then put a new buyer in, and we were culled as he got rid of all ice creams over £6, and we were selling a 500ml in a beautiful wooden tub, but for $7.25. We had somebody stop at the parlour on Thursday with the biggest cool bag I have ever seen. There was a domestic cool bag, and he lives in Dorchester, and he used to buy our ice cream in the Dorchester Waitrose. And he just said, I can't be without your ice cream. So ready for the summer, he said everything's gone, the peas, the sweet corn, all the stuff at the bottom has gone, ready for this whole, and he came and a silly amount of money to buy ice cream in one lot, but he said, well, that's my ice cream for the summer now. So and last year we did a lot online because we were on James Martin. That created a massive audience, and we were just sending ice cream out online all across the UK. Fantastic. But it's so expensive with the dry ice and the carriage and everything else. So that's something that we can run for a 2-3 week period, and then we'll go online and really promote it and say, if you want to buy ice cream for the summer, this is our delivery slot. And I think a lot of other companies have tried it as well, and it's just so difficult. But we tend to, once we've got them, we tend to get them for good. And I think, from speaking personally with my grandchildren, when we go out and they want an ice cream, and obviously it won't be one of our ice creams at round at a beach or an entertainment place. And they'll go, but it doesn't taste as nice as yours, Mama. And I go, I know, but it's fine, and then, George, do you want to wait till you come home? And quite often, can we wait till we get home?
That's
so you've
amazing.
almost spoiled them, for what ice cream. But I think it's what we've forgotten as a society. I think we forget about how good should be. And I think now as well with unprocessed foods and everything else, people are talking about ultra processed foods. there was a whole article about it on the radio, and they were talking about ice cream being one of those foods that was classed as being ultra processed. And I'm shouting in the car, but not all ice creams. And we just need to get that message out there, that you don't, our processes, we pasteurize and we freeze.
Yeah,
that is it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. So my dad is 92.
Yeah.
And every day after dinner, he will have ice cream. And for him, it's about the taste of the ice cream. It's not, he's not led on price, he's led on taste.
Yeah.
So like you say, as soon as you have those people who have tasted your product, they're just going to keep wanting it and wanting it, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that takes me into a really good point around, if people wanted to get their hands on your ice cream, where can they go? Where can they find you? Because that's a really good point. So Waitrose, you're not currently in Waitrose. No. But you're in Harrods?
Yeah, so we're in Harrods restaurant.
Okay.
So again, most of the people can only get our ice cream if they eat it in a restaurant in the UK. Overseas, Dubai, Singapore, we're working in China as well now. You can buy tubs, which is ridiculous. First class, if you fly Emirates regularly. I was so just absolutely blown away by the fact that we won the contract to supply Emirates first class. And again, Kate, it is, and other brand leaders will sort of relate to this totally. It was just a normal day, and then I got home, and one of the guys who I know through the travel industry, he said, "I've just heard from the grapevine that you've just got the Emirates contract for first class for all flights out of Europe." And I went, "Yeah," and he went, "So how big's the bottle of champagne you're opening?" And I'm going, "Well, I've just got a cup of tea." And it's like I came back and said to the team, "This is insane, right? What do you want to do to celebrate?" They said, "Can we have fish and chip Friday?" And I said, "Yeah, of course we can." I've got a brilliant team. But it's things like that. So Emirates first class, so airlines, we're in a lot of places sort of like Glyndebourne, and we do a lot of Goodwood, Harry Potter Studios. We do all the weird and wonderful ice creams there. But retail around here, it's farm shop. So Greendale, we do a collaboration with Greendale actually, where we use a lot of their products and make ice cream for them. But it's a dual branded product, so it's Granny Gothards and Greendale. Fordmore Farm Shop. And then you can always come to the parlour. We've always got ice cream for sale there.
So I either need to fly with Emirates, or I need to go to the Harrods restaurant, or go to a farm shop.
Not a bad sort of. You could do all of them as well, or a 5-star restaurant.
I feel like
hotels. You could do them all. Yeah, exactly.
I could try really hard and tick them off the list.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done flavours, we've done where we can find you, we've done about the story, but I guess the next piece to that is, as you scale as a brand and as a business, what does the future look like for Granny Gothards? Because that's a massive question in itself.
Yeah.
That you can tell me. I know some things are probably on lockdown, but where do you see Granny Gothards going? Where is it going? Any exciting plans?
I suppose that the big thing for me now is what I do. At my age and where I'm coming to in my sort of stage in life and everything. And I've got a brilliant management team sort of sitting there. So I have, over the last 2 or 3 years, even though it's me sitting here today, over the last 2 or 3 years, tried to pull myself away from being tied totally with the brand, knowing that if I sell the brand, which is what I want to do eventually, because I want it to continue, it can't all be about Amanda Ringelberg. It's got to be about Granny Gothards. And Susie is insanely good. My business development manager, my work wife, my wing lady, everything. And so I've been trying to pull myself away from that, and it's been fun to do it actually, because I've been a bit, I'll pick that one in Asia, and I'll pick that one in Singapore, and Susie can do the UK stuff and everything. I obviously am at that stage now where, over the next 2 to 3 years, I need to pull back a bit. But then something exciting happens and I'm like, whoa, back into it again. We've also got another brand called Pro Ice, which is the high protein ice cream, which I'm working on with. I've got a couple of investors that are involved in that. We're also doing a lot with Cool Dog. I have launched another product which I can't talk about yet, but you'll find out about that soon. So there's always things that are keeping me interested. And I suppose with that good management team and me not having to head it up 5 days a week, I can go on for a lot longer and still do the other things that I want to do. passionate about children in care.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time doing that, and I'm working with a couple of people that have got care homes in the in the area to change society's view on kids in care. Gone back to being a magistrate as well.
Oh wow!
So because I love doing that, so I've just starting my retraining, and hopefully should be sitting as a magistrate again by October this year. I love all of that, but there is enough time with the team that I've got in place that I can do those things and not feel guilty.
Yeah.
That's the other thing as a brand owner, and I'm sure everybody will know that if you take a day off, you feel guilty. And the girls in the office say to me, if you go to Dubai on business, you don't feel you have to, ring the office and go, I'm just doing this now, I'm just doing that now. So why do you feel you need to do it when you're on holiday? Yeah. And I said, because I just feel guilty. So I've that's something I've had to work on. And I think this is why there's so many coaching companies that help, entrepreneurs and brand owners to manage that sort of time. Yeah. So yeah, there are a few things still to go before I sort of hang up my ice cream scoop.
Yeah. Love that. Literally love that. And it's one of those things, isn't it? When you think about, that guilt piece, but actually when you are away and you are out of the office, that's normally when those best ideas happen, or when you can sort of disjoint and pull away from the business. I always find as well, that's when you have those sort of moments of, this is what we need to do because I've had the space to do that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our listeners say, have conversations with clients all the time about it. It's like on the hamster wheel all the time of churn, keep going. And actually, they just don't have the space to stop and go, why are we doing this? Where are we going? How long is it going to take us? And, what's the goal?
Yeah.
And I think having that space to do that is really, really important.
Yeah. I know one of the guys who works for me, Richard, he said to me the other day, we haven't seen you for ages. You're only coming in 2 days a week now. I said, Richard, the work I'm doing outside is so much more important. And then I come in and go, I've been speaking to this person. We're creating an ice cream for them. We're doing this. And they go, all right, and I think I'm not productive in the parlour. Sitting behind my desk in the parlour is not where I'm most productive. When we first started and I go in and make ice cream in the morning and then I deliver it in the afternoon, those days are gone, and we were a bit short-staffed before Easter because one of the girls was off sick. And I said, can I come down and make ice cream? And they said, yeah, of course you can. Oh, Kate's had the best time. It was just fantastic, apart from the fact that, you think, then my phone was pinging. And I thought, no, I can't answer my phone in the parlour. I've got to go and do that afterwards. I've just got to give myself this time. But I loved it. Yeah. And it was wonderful. But if I'm not making ice cream and actually being productive in that way, then I've got to be productive another way, which is bringing new business in, developing the brand, bringing ideas and everything, the partnerships and stuff. And that's not done sitting behind my desk. No. And when you talk to brand owners all the time, they're out and about, they're meeting people, they're looking for new customers and everything. And they're also shouting about what they're doing. And that's when you get to that stage where you've built the team that can do what you need them to do without you supervising them, you've got the right team in place. Yeah. And I've got the most brilliant team, and it's them that allow me to do this, and take the brand and also have the confidence to send ice cream on a plane, where people, when we had the meetings with Emirates, they were, first class passengers can be very critical and this, and I'm thinking, right. And they've got a flavour change. So they're doing vanilla and chocolate and dairy-free chocolate at the moment. And we're having a flavour change. It should have come in place 1st of April, but because of everything that's going on in Iran, you can't believe, can you, that all this trouble is affecting like a little ice cream business like us. We're not having the flavour change till October. And then they've
so
choked.
long.
Yeah, it's madness how things change, Yeah. But it's like we were they wanted to do honeycomb for the next flavour change, and we're saying, well, because we hand stir the honeycomb in, it could be that some pots won't have as much honeycomb as another. It's not automatically dosed in. And they said, well, that's fine as long as we put that in the specifications. Yeah. Because else you will have somebody sitting there opposite their partner go, how come you've got more honeycomb than I've got? And I'm thinking, I don't want this to be an issue on Emirates and they're suddenly complaining to the air stewardesses that they haven't got enough honeycomb in their pot, Yeah. So, but even with all of that, there's that development all the time that I'm doing when I'm not sitting behind my desk.
Yeah. And just around that, so obviously getting out and about and, from getting in front of the people that you need to get in front of, face to face, it's much easier. We know that. And as the world of COVID sort of ended and we've come out of it, I feel like we're a lot better as a nation now at doing that. But just talk to me from a digital perspective, because we see it a lot in food and drink where you have a great product, you have a great brand, you know, and you want to share the story and make them feel like they're tasting it, but they're not actually tasting it.
Yeah.
In, you know, where the chefs are posting about it. How do you keep that sort of brand identity and quality piece really sharp in a digital space?
I think it's difficult. I think it's really difficult, and I think this is why there are some amazing companies, you know, that do this. We tend to find, like Susie and I tend to do our, you know, photographs and everything. We did outsource it a few years ago, and people came back and said, if you outsourced your social media, they picked up straight away that it wasn't almost, it wasn't us, because we're not experts at it. So it is a little bit crumbly around the edges. But again, that led into the story of who we were. The chefs that send us their pictures, they love it. They love us putting on and tagging them, and they tag us and all the rest of it. So a lot of it comes from there. It's difficult in some ways, because what we did in the beginning when we were going to shows and things, we created a monster that we had to pull back from, because we were sort of saying, look at this fantastic product, blah, blah, blah. And people go, where can we buy it from? Where can we buy it? You can't. And this is with Pro Ice. This is where I am with Pro Ice at the moment. So, you know, we're working to get it out there digitally, but we can't do that until we've got a retailer that's actually stocking it. So it is so difficult. And then, you know, again, in China, so this big, massive retailer that I'm speaking to in China, and I came on the phone with them and they said, oh, you haven't got a very big social media presence. So that's part of their due diligence they'd done. It was to check out our social media. And I just said, well, I'm hoping that's something that, you know, you can help us with when we're in China, because you've got 50 million members in your store. You know, if we can get the ice cream in 1% of those people, and they then do a picture, a tweet about it, or you know, Threads, Twitter, whatever it might be, then you'll help us develop that. I said, because actually we're not a retail product in the UK. So again, you can go to bed at the end of the evening, at the end of the day, as a brand owner, and think, I haven't done this very well, I haven't done that very well, I haven't. But you have to be aware that you're not everything. You can't, and you have a limited budget. And we've talked openly about this. You know, there is a limited budget, and you have to work out where the best place to spend that budget is. And it has worked for us. The best place is to put a spoon in a chef's mouth. You know,
we hear that a lot. You know, especially in the industry that we're in, that we love and we live and breathe it. If you get the product in front of whoever you need to get it in front of, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do really well with it, because they're going to buy into the story, the why, because you're telling them. And also, more importantly, they're going to love the product. It's never the product, touch wood, that is the issue. It's how do we get more eyeballs on the product, and how do we get more visibility of that product as well. But like you say, because you're not actively going to consumers, they're seeing you in other areas, and they're finding you through that discovery journey. But then once they find you, you need to make sure that
I think that the thing that we benefit on from being down here in the southwest is that we get so many tourists. So they've come to eat out and enjoy the food that the southwest can provide, that does provide. And we then get people going back off the holidays, and they sort of get to August, September time, and we get the emails coming in then. Oh, we stayed at a hotel in such and such a place. We had your ice cream. Where can we now buy it from? And we go to Waitrose with that. And this is how we've reopened the talks with Waitrose again, is look at all these customers that, you know, used to buy. And the thing was, what annoyed us more than anything is we had really, really good sales in Waitrose.
Crazy.
It was just we were expensive. And our best store, I mean, I find this really hard to believe, but our best selling store was Covent Garden and Canary Wharf. And I you know, when we were in there, Susie and I went down to the store and we were trying to work out why we sell so much ice cream. Canary Wharf was the top one. And it's because we were doing ice cream for Apple offices, for Google offices, for, you know, Universal Music Studios. And these companies were providing ice cream free for their staff. So they got to know the brand because it's a hot day, you know, in London. Let's go and get an ice cream out of the foyer. then they were going into the Waitrose on the way home, seeing the ice cream, knowing that it was good because they'd had the little pot during the day, and then buying it and taking it home. So, again, that whole thing of getting people to taste it is the way. And, I think digital marketing is so much better. Now, print, how many people look at a magazine and go, oh, that looks like a nice pot. I'm going to buy that ice cream. I'm going to try and find where that ice cream is. But the whole digital marketing, you click on a link, you're on the website, you're then on a stock it list, and you can do all that literally from your armchair.
Yeah.
That has got to be something that we embrace more and will embrace more as soon as we're back into Waitrose.
Yeah, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So seasonality, it's one we haven't actually spoken about. How do you deal with seasonality and demand?
So seasonality was 2015 was the first thing that I really came across, and it was because my staff were talking about going, well, you do Monday and Tuesday and I'll do Wednesday and Thursday, and they were all talking about going on short time. And without a shadow of a doubt, my biggest asset is my staff. Forget the machines, forget the freezers. It's the people who make it every day. And I thought, how can I protect those guys? So that was my first, right, okay, where can I sell the ice cream during the winter time? And I stalked a guy on LinkedIn, literally to the point where he was either going to get, some sort of criminal investigation on me, get the police involved, or agree to see me. And thankfully for Granny Gothards and for myself personally, he decided to see me. So I made an appointment, went over to Dubai with no samples or anything, because at this stage I was still naive. I'd been in the business 2 years. We were delivering to a few local restaurants. And I went to see him, and I came back with an order for 3 tons of ice cream.
Amazing.
And it was a ton of vanilla, a ton of chocolate, a ton of strawberry, and then he added to it some passion fruit sorbet. And it was for Gary Rhodes, who was obviously very big over there, and he wanted the whole British, to be able to promote British ice cream. Also, the quality was so much better than what they had in Dubai. You think Dubai, everything is glorious. They had Baskin and Robbins ice cream, which you open the door and it smells like you're in a candy floss shop. It's so sweet. And so they hadn't got anything different within food service. So I came back with that contract, and that took the seasonality out of the business. But it also gave me the confidence to start exporting more. So then we started working in China, and then we did Singapore, and now we're still working Dubai, and we're building. The Chinese contract ended in COVID because of all the reasons, but we're now starting all the conversations with those again, and hopefully we should be in there for April 2027 in China. And that is, when we're talking about the volumes and everything, and I'm going, yeah, we can do that. And I'm thinking, how are we going to do those volumes? But we will, because that's what we do. We will do it.
And your story, and again, we cross paths quite a lot, but we've never actually sat down and had a conversation. But the story of Granny Gothards, it is so inspiring. And if you think about that risk-taking piece, like I can live and breathe and align with that so much with you. But if you were to give one piece of advice, because a lot of our listeners are founders of food and drink brands who might have just started out, or they might be midway through their journey, they might be towards the end, and they might be looking to sell as well, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them? Because I know that's really broad.
Yeah, it is, because somebody asked me once, what was the advice about sort of exporting? What would you do then? Just growing your business and utilising experienced people that, you're not big enough to have your own marketing department, your own design department, your own transport department. So you work with companies that are aligned to your beliefs, and you involve them in your brand so they become part of it. So when we ring up our design team, we say, we want to change the design. They know us. They know what we're looking for. So I think it's, if you're starting off, it's surrounding yourself by really good people, really good at people outside, because you can't afford to bring all those people in one go. And the other thing is, I think, is to manage your expectations of where your business should be, because everything takes longer than you think it's going to take. And building a brand, I've been doing this now for 14 years, and it's only in the last 2 or 3 years that I think we've got to where I wanted us to be, where people put us on the menus. we're named as a product. You know, it's not just scoop of ice cream, it's a scoop of Granny Gothards ice cream.
Yeah.
Our export is growing and growing, you know, the Emirates contract and everything. So I think it's managing your expectations, but also sticking with your beliefs. And you know, people were sort of ringing me up quite early in the journey. We can double your production. We can halve your production costs. Yes, you can, because I have to buy another machine that pumps that product full of air. What's different about my product? There's no air in it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, so if I'd have been swayed by that, yeah, okay, maybe, you know, let's cut our production costs. Let's do a product the same as everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation now, you know, because you have to stay true to why you wanted to do the product in the first place. And I really firmly believe that, but also be open to developing that product. You don't have one jam.
Yeah.
Have 5 jams and have different flavors, you know, same with cheese. Don't have one cheese. Develop it, you know, look at what the market wants and be open, and be open to people like me helping you, you know, ask us questions. I mean, I'm a director of Food Drink Devon, as you know, and one of the things that I love about being that is people coming over and saying, can you tell me how you started exporting? Can you tell me how you source your packaging? Where do you get this from? You know, and I think that's the thing, just be open and ask people. Just pick up the phone, send them an email, because most brand owners have had an experience on their journey that will help you on yours.
And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, was to talk about things like that, because again, we sit in the digital world and there's so much gatekeeping that goes on, and people don't want to tell you their secrets. And I'm so open and my team are so open. If we find something that works, we want to tell people about it.
Yeah.
We're so passionate about food and drink, and we want the brands that we work with to really flourish, but also we want the whole industry to flourish. And you know, I've said to you before, I'm a massive Southwest advocate. I feel so proud that whenever I go anywhere or, you know, speak on at an event or whatever it might be, I'm like, I'm from the Southwest and we have some of the most amazing food and drink brands. And I'm so fiercely passionate about that. And you guys just back up everything I try and preach. So thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Literally, thank you for asking me. It's wonderful to do these things. And like you say, the times our paths have crossed and we've sat having a coffee on the steps at Exeter University or something. We're chatting about anything apart from this, you know, what we want to talk about. And people say to me sometimes, oh, you know, when you talk about Granny Gothards, you know, that you've got so much. Because I've lived and breathed it for 14 years. And, you know, I'm passionate about what I do. And I think I've just finished with, you know, when I came back from Dubai with that first sort of 2015 with that first order. And you know, Donna said to me, our production manager, my office used to be the walk-in freezer. Well, you know, it turned into the walk-in freezer. Had to move my office out of where we used for a walk-in freezer. And Donna came in. She said, "Are you sitting there buying handbags?" And I went, "No, I'm doing this deal, Donna, in Dubai." And she went, "Yeah." And I came out. I said, "I've just got an order for 3 tons of ice cream." And Donna went, "And they've never tasted it." And I went, "No. We still work with that company now." And I said to them, why did you buy 3 tons of ice cream and you'd never tasted it? And I think this is one thing that, you know, going back to what I'd say to any brand owner and somebody starting whatever part of the journey they're in, this guy turned around to me and said, "The reason why I bought 3 tons of ice cream, Amanda, without tasting a mouthful is nobody could have sold rubbish with that much passion." And I think that's the thing. Have passion in what you do, you know, and believe in what you do. And if you are true to your ethos of your brand, then you will always believe in what you do and be passionate about it. So maintain the passion.
That's giving me goosebumps as well, because it's so true. So true.
And it doesn't matter what it is: food, handbags, televisions, shoes, doesn't matter what it is, digital marketing, believe in what you do and have passion for it.
Maybe we'll talk about handbags after.
Absolutely.
I love those too. But where can people find you? Obviously on social media.
Yeah, so we're www.grannygothards.co.uk. Instagram, we're Granny_Gothards. Same with Facebook. Just search for Granny Gothards. My name's Amanda Ringelberg. You'll also find things under Amanda Ringelberg, because some people tell me, "Have you got your own Instagram account?" No, but I post on the same thing. So that's why my grandkids will be on. But again, it's part of me. It's part of me. And I'm, you know, Granny Gothards runs through my veins. Ice cream runs through my veins.
Love it. And I'm definitely having some ice cream in a minute.
You should do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.